Well, I'm back. So I took a little time off from this channel just because, with all the reviews that I was doing on the power inverters, whenever I'd reach out to some of these Chinese companies, they were just not responding anymore. I guess they didn't like that, I would critique them and bust their butt on some things, mostly the wiring and some of the things that just didn't pan out and didn't test like it should. And so whenever I'd reach out to try to get a power inverter, they just didn't want to hook me up no more because I guess I was riding them too hard. Well, I waited a little while, give it about 6 months, and last week I reached out to a company, and sure enough, they sent me out a power inverter. So if you would, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, and also check out my other channel. I've been very active on it since I've not been on here, so you guys can check that out. I'll put a link to my channel down below in the description. You can check it out. I've got about 8,500 subscribers. I review a lot of tools and automotive parts and just anything that I find fascinating. I try to get it and review it. And as always, you guys know that I'll shoot you straight. And so this particular power inverter is a 3,000 watt pure sine wave power inverter from a company by the name of BELTTT. Sure why they needed 3 T's on there, but whatever. Looks like it got some nice thick wiring, got some paperwork, got some fuses and a wrench. I'm gonna get a remote, some wiring, and then I'm gonna show you guys how this was packed. You can see that they did a good job packing the ends of it, and then there's probably a good inch of space between the sides. I got everything unboxed, and I just wanted to say, very impressed. Like I said, I've never heard of this company. When I was doing the reviews for the other power inverters, I'd never seen this company on Amazon. So this is a totally new company. I just messaged them, said, hey, how about sending me one, let me do the testing, and that was it. And so here we are. No different than before. I'm gonna test the heck out of it. There's no script. These guys don't pay me. I don't get no kickbacks. But if you do buy from my affiliate link, I do make a little bit, and then from you guys watching my video, I make it even smaller a little bit. But anyways, just wanted to say I'm very impressed so far with the case. I think it looks really nice, the black and the orange. And then one thing that I was very impressed with was this grounding block here on the side of the case. I've never seen this that I can remember on any other power inverter, where it's got a big block like that to stick your wire in, and it's got a little set screw that goes in from the top. So I don't know how well you guys can see that, but I mean, that's a really nice feature. Then on the back here, you've got the legs. They stand off the bottom of the case, so it's not flat and building heat. So that's another thing that I look for. It's probably got a ½ inch of a standoff. And then you can see right here, there is some vents. And then on this side, it's plain. It's just got the screws where they assemble everything. Then here on the sides of the case, where it's orange, that is plastic. I can just tell that that's plastic, but that doesn't bother me any. I like that better than I do metal, just simply because it's a little safer when you're going to connect your wires, so you don't accidentally short anything out. Now I've got a flashlight here that's got a magnet on the bottom, and it won't stick. So this is aluminum, some sort of aluminum alloy. But anyways, it says right here on the label, 3,000 watts DC to AC. Pure sine wave inverter. We'll test that. On this end, you've got the spot for your fan on each side, and it's even labeled fan. Right here on the side where you connect your cables, you've got a little plastic cap that holds these little covers in place. And you can see right here, you've got a nice wide pad to make your connection with your lugs. They were smart enough to give you a lock washer and a flat washer, so I like that. And these little covers that fit over there, they're really nice and thick. You've got your 2 AC outlets, and these are your 15 amp, and then you got a 20 amp AC outlet here below. And the reason that you can tell that one's that it's a 20 amp, see right here, you've got this one here is just a longer slot, and that's your shorter slot. Well, this one's a short slot, longer slot, but then you got a leg that sticks out to the side. So that lets you know that's a 20 amp, this is a 15 amp, that's a 15 amp. And then right here, this is your AC terminal block. So you can hardwire this to, you know, an appliance that draws more amps. And then right here, you've got a place to plug in your remote. Pretty much looks just like a little telephone cord, and they give you plenty enough. And over to the side, you've got just a regular USB-A. It says that it's a 5-volt output. And then right here, you've got just a typical push in, and then it sinks in, and then you push it again and it pulls out. It's just an on and off switch. And then you've got your display right in here. And so, yeah, everything looks really nice. I gotta say, you know, even though this is plastic, it's well made, it's not flimsy. Sometimes the USB or the USB-C will be kind of loose in some of them, and then some of the AC outlets, sometimes they'll be a little bit loose. I gotta say, all these are nice and tight. And then as far as mounting it, you've got these holes right here on the bottom and on the top, and then you also have slots. It's pretty easy to mount this thing. Really nice looking inverter. Now, I've not tested it, so I can't really say one way or another, but gotta say, so far the quality of it seems really nice. So, like I said, they give you plenty of wire for the remote. The remote actually looks really nice, and it just has on and off right here on the side. And then as far as the where it plugs in is here on the bottom. So keep that in mind. You know, if you do recess this, you got to have enough room to you know, plug in your cord, because this wire is going to stick down a little bit in your way. So if you are planning on recessing this remote control, make sure you plan for that wire sticking down below, just letting you know. And then, like I said, it comes with some blade fuses. Looks like there's, I don't know, 8 blade fuses in here, and these are 45s, and there's 8 of them. And then you've got a little wrench, 12 millimeter and 10 millimeter. And then on to my favorite part. It says these right here are 3 foot long, and they're 1/0. So these will be able to handle the inverter. So that's a first. So I gotta say, I'm very, very impressed that they sent some cables that were big enough. And another thing that I like on the lugs here, they're nice and wide, so you make a really nice contact onto the lug here on the or the terminals on the inverter, and they're nice and thick, and the heat shrink looks really good on them. I mean, you can tell they did a good job. Same thing with the negative. It's a 1/0. So I can't really bitch and complain about the cables. This is like one of the first companies that's really done everything right so far, you know. And this was one of the things I beat up all them other companies about. You know, they would send some smaller cables, but these are the appropriate size. So just to double check for you guys, I Googled it and brought up Inverters R Us, and it says for the 1/0 battery cables, you can use them with inverters rated up to 3,500 watts. All right, so I'm gonna get you guys some quick measurements. And so the inverter all the way from end to end is 17 inches. And that's, like I said, this is all the way to the end of these caps and all the way to the end of this hardwire block there. As far as your width, it's 7 5/8 wide. And then as far as your height goes, it is 3 7/8 tall. All right, so I just want to get you guys a weight. It says on Amazon that it weighs 11.9 pounds. You can see right there, I went ahead and zeroed out the scales. And these are really accurate scales. I've used them many times. 9.8 pounds. So that's a little bit off. Like I said, it says right here in the Amazon listing, 11.9 pounds. I don't know if that's with the packing material and the, you know, the display. Probably with the display, probably close to another pound. That thing's pretty heavy. And then with the cables and all that, that's probably where they got the 11.9 pounds at. So just wanted to clear that up. So I come to my first little critique when I started to hook the power inverter up to the batteries here. Right here are these little studs sticking out to hook your cables up to your inverter. Well, these studs right here are a 6 millimeter, and I went ahead and measured it, and you can see right there my little gauge, it shows that it's a 6 millimeter. If you look at the lugs on the end of this wire, these are 10 millimeter holes. So you take a 10 millimeter hole, try to put it over a 6 millimeter stud, and look at how much wiggle you got between the two. So if I was going to give some useful information to BELTTT, then I would say these are nice thick lugs here, but the hole is too large and there's too much play. And I understand that they give you a washer. They actually give you 2 flat washers. I didn't realize that. There was 2 flat washers. There's a larger one, a smaller one, the nut, and a lock washer. So they tried to make up for it by using a washer, but I think it would get better contact that if this lug was smaller, or better yet, if they would make the stud larger and make it, you know, at least an 8 or a 10. I mean, I know 10 would be huge, but I'm just saying, wouldn't that be, you know, awesome if they made it that big? Just by looking at it through a thermal camera, I believe most of your heat just comes right here at these connection points. And I honestly believe if they put a larger stud right there, at least an 8 or a 10, then, you know, it would, you know, run cooler. That just my thoughts. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and run with it. We're gonna go ahead and hook it up. I've got 2 200 amp hour batteries here, and I've got them hooked together, so for 12 volt. All right, so I just wanted to show you how I'm gonna hook mine up to these cables. Now this metal pad right there, I'm not sure if it's copper or brass or whatever it is. I'm not real sure. I know the stud just looks like it's probably just a mild steel stud, but you know, the little pad right there sits a little bit higher. So I'm gonna take this lug here, and I'm gonna put it on there first. And that way this lug has the most contact area. And then I'm gonna put the larger flat washer on. Then I'm gonna put the smaller flat washer on. And then I'm gonna put the lock washer on. And I'm gonna put the nut on. Now, there's probably not a whole lot of reason to put the smaller flat washer on, but I figured, you know, since there's a lot of play in there, that it might help keep it pressed nice and flat. I figured it would make it have the most contact by doing it this way. And then as far as the nut on there, it uses a 10 millimeter, and so I'm gonna go ahead and put these pointed straight out, and then I'm gonna tighten it up. Now don't go stupid with these, because you can break those studs, but you do want to get them tight enough where it's getting a good contact. And you can see right there, that should be tight enough. And then got the cover that fits over just like that there. And then you've got the plastic nut that hides everything. So I like the way that they did this setup, because you can see there's no exposed metal to, you know, make a short. And then you got your 10 millimeter to tighten that little cap up right there. And so I'm going to do the same thing to the negative there on the bottom, and then we'll get it all hooked up. All right guys, so before we make our final battery connection, you want to use a 30 ohm resistor. And what this does is just prevents these lithium iron phosphate batteries from sending a lot of power very quickly to that inverter, causing a spark. And sometimes you can damage the inverter, but what we're going to do is just go ahead and loosen the wire here. And I'm always very careful at this, and I just hold it together just like that and charge it. I just leave it for about 5 or 10 seconds, and then I make my connection. But I do this so there's no spark, and I hate when there's a spark. And you see did that pretty quick, because if you don't, sometimes, you know, if you wait too long, then you can cause a spark. So make sure once you charge it, you go ahead and get it on there as quick as you can. And I'm gonna go ahead and make sure everything's tightened up, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the review. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and turn it on for the first time. I'm gonna mash the on button there, and you can already see that it gives a nice beep as soon as it turns on. And both of my batteries are fully charged, but it shows that it's got a full battery. It's got like a little battery charge. And then right there at the top, it says 14.1 input, and then it's showing 119 volts output. And then I'll go ahead and just show you here on the remote. Probably be a little bit easier for you guys to see. It's pretty much the same thing. You can see right there, this is a little battery chart. Then it shows 14.1 and then 119 volts output. And of course there's nothing plugged into it yet, so it's not using any watts. But I gotta say, you know, the display is pretty nice. I'm gonna go ahead and set it to the side, and I'm gonna go ahead and plug in a watt meter And this watt meter can also tell you your voltage. It's got several functions on here other than just, being a watt meter. But it shows right there 118.7 volts, and right there it shows 119 volts. So that's pretty daggone close. Then it shows right below that it's at 60 hertz, and that's right where you want to be for the United States, is at 60 hertz, so you don't damage any of your equipment. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and test and make sure that it's a pure sine wave. As you can see, I've got a cable plugged in here. I've got it going to a little box, and I've got a hole on this side of the box where I've got my little alligator clip, and then on this side I'll go ahead and hook it in right. I didn't get a good bite on it. As you can see right there, that it is a nice clean pure sine wave. Yeah, very happy with that. All right guys, so I just wanted to check the standby power consumption, and it's at 1.92, and then it's went up to right at 2 amp, and that calculates out to about 23 to 24 watts. All right guys, so I just wanted to do a little quick test before I forget on this USB-A port right there to charge my old Galaxy phone. You can see right there it does charge it. And also I just wanted to show you, we're going to do a real live test. If you're not familiar with my channel, what I do is take and we put a load on this power inverter. Like it's rated at 3,000 rated watts. And so what we're going to do is take and we're going to run a 1,500 watt space heater, and then once it gets up to running real good, then we're going to hook up this other 1,500 watt space heater, and that'll be close to 3,000 watts, and then we're going to take and run like a hair dryer without no heat on it at first. We're just going to run the fan, and I think it's about 160 watts, and we're just going to get as close as we can to that 3,000 watt mark and see if it shuts off premature, and just basically let you guys know if is this thing really going to be able to run 3,000 watts like it says it can. So anyways, now keep in mind, I would not run an inverter at its max all the time. That's not good for it. You want to try to run it at about half of what it's rated for, maybe just a little bit more. But if you're looking to run 3,000 watts constantly, I mean, this thing won't live long, just simply because you're pushing it to the very max. But what we're trying to do is just make sure that it can at least do what it says it does, even though you're probably not going to run 3,000 watts constantly. Stay tuned. All right, so I just turned it on. We're at 1,044 watts, 1,400, 1,500, 1,579, 1612, 1622, 1615. Now it's dropping. Now it's going to stabilize out. And so you can see this heater is going. It's the only one that's turned on, and now it's at 1484. And then so next we have another space heater, and it's not plugged. Oh, it's plugged in, but it's not turned on yet. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on high. And this one's running at 1,400. And now this one's at 407, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, 13, 14, 1540. Okay, 16. So yeah, this one's at 1621, and that one's at 1421. 1550, 1422. So guys, you're right there at that 3,000 watt mark. I mean, that is really freaking close. Now it's stabilized, or getting more stabilized. This one over here that I'm shaking is at 1418, 1420, 1421, 22. This one's at 1460. This one's at 1420. So we're about 2,900 watts. And then now we're going to add this guy right here. And what this is just a hair dryer, but I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to only run it on just the fan mode, so it should put out like 160 watts. Now when I do that, it's going to be over the 3,000 watt mark. So if it does shut it down when I turn this on, has every right to, because that'll be over 3,000 watts, because right here we're at 1417 and 1454. The total on that is 2871. So we're about 119 watts away. So yeah, this is definitely going to put us over, because I believe this is about 160 something watts. But we'll see if it's able to do over 3,000. So here we go, guys. I don't know how well you guys can see this. I'm trying to turn it on. 173 watts. 140, 144, 2, so 1442, and this one's 173. So we're at 3,015 watts. So yeah, you can see that it's getting warm. I will say that. It's getting pretty dang hot here on the case. But that's going over the rated power. You see it's still going. So you see me run it. I'm gonna turn this off, but you seen it ran over 3,000 watts. And you know, the case is warm, but it does have a couple of heaters right here blowing on it. Plus it's producing heat too, so you know. But yeah, gotta say it did above what it said it could do. Now I'm not gonna sit here and burn up all night in this heated room, but I just wanted to do a quick test just to show you that it can do above the 3,000 watts. And you know, now the case, like I said, it is pretty warm, trying to run it to that 3,000 watts, but it's not crazy. I am going to pull out a thermal gun. Alright guys, like I said, that case is pretty hot, and it says it's 104 right here, and then right up here it's about 120 degrees the further you go back to the cables there. Now, like I said, that was pushing this thing till its very, very max. Let's look here on the side. Right there on the side, it shows about 118 where that screw is right there. But you also got to remember too, like I said, you're not going to be running this thing at full force. This is just a wattage test to see if it can do what it says that it can do. Alright guys, so I just wanted to show you, I've had this heater off right here, the one that was blowing on me. Of course, we're going to turn that joker off because I'm roasting in here. We got 2 air conditioners running and a space heater. So, guys, please like and subscribe to this channel and this video. I mean, literally, we spend a lot of time testing this stuff for you guys, let you know what's good and what's bad. You can see right here, of course, I'm pointing towards the metal part of the front of the case there, and it shows 85, 86. And then the further you go back, you know, it gets warmer. Right there about almost middle ways, it's at 105. And then the further you get back, and it's about 103.5. So it cooled off substantially once I turned this heater off and just left that one going. So now it's pushing closer to 1,500 watts rather than, you know, its max at 3,000. And you know, we'll do even right here on the side where the heat sinks are bolted to the case. You can see right there it's at 93 at the very first screw. The second screw it's at 99. The third screw it's at 105. And then we'll go all the way to the back. Shows 100 degrees. And then right there in the middle it's 107. So yeah, I mean it's pretty warm there on that case, but it's nowhere near where it was just a few minutes ago. But yeah, as long as you don't run this thing to its maximum and let it just sit there and run and run and run, you'll be fine. But I would definitely not run this thing at 3,000 watts constant, because it's going to get hot. I guess this case design could be improved a little bit you know, because if somebody out there does run this thing up to 3,000 watts, it is going to get pretty hot like you've seen. And so they can improve on this case some, put some more heat sinks internally or externally by putting the grooves in there, the little heat sink grooves, and make this case maybe a little bit bigger, so that way it has more surface area to cool down. And so anyways, as far as like the cables here on the back, we can see right there we're at 98, 97, and then the ground cable is at 96, 94. So yeah, the cables didn't get really that hot. I mean, they got warm. Can this unit run 3,000 watts? Yes, it is a very strong inverter, and I think for like little over $200, it is a good buy for, you know, as long as you're not trying to run this thing to its max, because I didn't like how hot that the case got. But if they address that issue and you're not running this thing all balls out 3,000 watts, I think you won't have any problems. And I'm very impressed that they provided the 1-aught cable, and you know that you hardly ever see that. And you can see right here, this is the cable that they provided, and then this is the New Concepts 1-aught cable that I always recommend. You know, it's very similar in size. Now obviously this cable here is not going to be nearly as good a quality as the New Concepts, but at least it is you know, showing that it can handle that 3,000 watts. And like I said, it's not crazy hot. Right there it shows 88 degrees. Right here it's showing 82, 83. So yeah. Alright guys, so I'm going to wrap this video up. I appreciate you watching. And if you're interested in this inverter, I'll put a link in the description. This is the BELTTT 3,000 watt pure sine wave inverter. And thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and also check out my other YouTube channel that I've put in the description. I've got about 8,500 subscribers in there, and that thing is growing. So if you like tool reviews and just interesting reviews on pretty much just whatever, not just solar stuff, check out that channel, guys. So I about got out of my rhythm. I about ended the video there, but I forgot the fan. The fans are moving, and they're moving a lot of air. This unit is not silent. You can hear it, but it's not a crazy loud noise like some of the power inverters. You know, this one, it's got 2 fans on it, and they're moving a lot of air. I mean, literally, they're not slow speed fans, but they're not annoying. They don't make a whining noise that's annoying to me. It might bother you, but to me it doesn't bother me at all. But I'm telling you, these jokers are moving some major air. Appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, guys. Thank you.